Welcome back, guys. My name is Parker with Backyard Barn Finds, and today we were invited all the way up here to Taunton, Massachusetts by my good friend Jim. Jim, how are you?
Well, good to see you.
Good to see you. And what we're going to do is take a look at a 1969 Camaro RS Z28. Hey, Tony, how are you?
Good, how you doing?
I'm doing well. I'm Parker.
Tony Mendoza.
Nice to meet
Tony,
you.
I'm Jim.
Jim, how you doing?
Sure
Jim,
nice
the
to see
potential
you.
buyer, huh?
That's right, that's right. So where do we have to go, Tony?
It's right here inside the garage. Oh, wrong one, see that?
Oh, wow, yeah. Oh, it's even, was 25s inspected for this year?
Oh yeah,
next year,
no,
huh?
it's still registered. Yeah, I keep all my stuff registered.
Well, Tony, before we kind of dive into this car, what exactly is the story of this car? How long have you had it, or what all can you tell us about the history?
Obviously a 69Z.
Right, yep.
I had one in high school, so I looked for many, many years.
Okay.
And I found this one from an older gentleman who was, I believe, 76 years old, and he'd had it for 26 years, I believe. He had a huge car collection, and he had a bunch of Camaros, and he sold them, and this was his last one. So this was his baby that he didn't want to part with, and he wanted to make sure I went to somebody who wasn't going to cut it up and take good care of it. So basically, it's got the deluxe interior, the console, the gauges, the tack. You know, it's an RS Z, which a lot of people love the Hugger Orange with the vinyl top, so it's got all the right options. And
Sure.
it took me, honestly, I had looked for on and off for like 10 years to find something like this. And it was crazy because I actually met the guy online on a website, Camaro website, and we were chatting. He told me, oh, I got one for sale, a Z, but never told me what colors. Then he disappeared. A few weeks later, he would get back to me and get bits and pieces. And it took me months to actually get to see a picture of the car. Then when I saw what he really had, I was like, wow, I couldn't believe it's a Hugger Orange RS Z.
How long have you owned the car?
I've only owned the car a couple of years.
Couple years, okay.
I think maybe 3. I bought the car, and then within a month I was sick. I was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer. I spent 5 weeks in Brigham and Women's, and it's done its toll on me. So you know, I have a neuropathy in my hands and feet. You know, so basically what I had looked for my whole life to drive and enjoy, unfortunately I'm not able to do that. So I'd like to see it go to somebody who can cherish it and
Sure.
take care of it. You know, you see these stories all the time, and you never think it's going to happen to you. You know, guys selling something, health issues, and we all have our own stories and go through our own battles in life. You take your time and go through it. Like I said, I had looked for years. I know the scheme because there's so many. I'd say 8 out of 10 cars out there are not legit. They're phony and re-stamped, and so take your time and go through the whole thing. And it's like I said, the car is certified. I have the paperwork from McNeilish, so, and it's a super clean, nice car.
Yeah, the car, you said it's been certified. It is certified by Jerry, but it was done a long time ago.
Yeah, so he had it certified,
20
I believe it
years
was
ago.
2002.
Right.
So I know stuff changes and stuff, so take your time and you know, check everything all out.
So the first thing I want to talk about is the VIN number for this car, and it has a VIN of 536216. And we know that that date by production was built in November, and so what we're going to do is confirm that with the cal tag. Now this is a Norwood built car, and it's an early car, so it has a long cal tag on it. If this was after December, it would have a short tag on it with an X code. This car does not have an X code on it at all. We see here that it has an 11A build date on the tag, so that means that it was built, at least the body, on November in the first week. It also has 72 for the paint, which would be Hugger Orange, and it has B for the black vinyl top, and that also confirms the stripes would be black as well. Now, there are several ways to tell whether you have a real cal tag for a 69 Camaro. We're not going to cover those in this video, but we do know that the rivets on this are right, but there are other ways to tell on these tags whether they're reproduction or not. The next thing that I'm going to do is it has RS headlights in it. So we're going to make sure that it does have the hole for the RS package. And if we come over here, so we're not really able to show you on camera with the difficulty of the booster here and everything, but it does have the hole for the RS with the vacuum hoses coming through it, which is a great sign. We also, if we look at the car, we take a look at the wiper motor here. We have the headlight washer solenoid for both sides. on the wiper motor. If this was not an RS car, it would not have this piece here. We take a look at the brake booster here. It does look correct. However, the actual master cylinder for this car right here would not be correct. If we come to the front of this car, we see that it has the RS lights in it. Now, the RS fenders are different than the regular 69 Camaro fenders. They would actually have brackets in here for the headlight, and I just want to make sure that they are correct. Do they work pretty well?
Yes, they actually, the gentleman was really proud of how fast they worked. They snap open and close pretty quick.
Okay. Yeah, I'll put a picture in the video so you guys can see the difference between the RS headlights and the non-RS headlights. It looks to me like this car was repainted. Was this car repainted at one time?
Yes, it was repainted. The gentleman that bought it, the factory hood is over there for it. He really liked the cowl hood, so he had changed it to the cowl hood. Even though it was an earlier car, he preferred a cowl hood.
Yeah, so the cowl hood, they were kind of standard later on in the year with 69 Z28s, but this is an early car when it was optional. And this cowl hood was added because when I was down there feeling for the cowl induction hole, it didn't have one. It only had the RS hole behind the booster there. I also know that it was repainted because if we take a look at the paint, my finger rides smoothly over these stripes. The stripes were not clear coated over from the factory, so that tells us that this car has also been repainted. As well as the cowl hood is a reproduction cowl hood because it does have the 45 angle right here instead of the way that it would have been originally. But Jim, you had asked me, you said you just wanted to make sure that this car was numbers matching.
Correct.
The way that we're going to do that is take a look at the numbers on the front of the pad here. You can kind of see down there, there's a little bit of bare metal, and that would be the engine pad that would tell us what engine this is. And so if I go down here and check, I can see that it says V1102DZ, and that would stand for November 2nd, and then DZ would be the 302 block, but it also has the VIN number stamped into that pad as well that should match the VIN number that's on the front of this car. And we have 536216. So that would mean that this block is original to this car. We also have to make sure that the cast date on the back here is correct, and that would be a 386 cast block because these blocks changed over the year of production. So these would have actually been like a 010 block on the back end if it was later on in the 69 run. We also see here on camera we have the double hump heads, which would be the 186 heads, correct for a Z28. We also have the valve covers for a Z28. Now you could have gotten these in chrome on a Corvette, but on the Z28 they're kind of dulled out. Do you mind if I take the air cleaner off of it?
Whatever you need to do to check it.
Now, while we're taking this off here, we're taking a look around the engine bay. I do see we're missing our skirts down here that kind of just keep the dust and the brake dust out of the engine compartment. Not a big deal. And the fuel line down there is a single fuel line. That would be correct for a Z28 as well. You can see the DZ with the 4053 right there, so that would be correct. I don't think that this alternator, I'm not seeing any stamps on it here. I don't think that that is original to this car, but the pulleys and stuff, they look original, and the engine obviously has been out and been repainted, and everything in here has kind of been.
There's an alternator that came with the car. It gave me a box of parts, which had a distributor and an alternator, and so the correct alternator may be right there.
That's it right over here?
That's it there, yep.
We'll take a look at this. Oh, there's a distributor in here also. So here's the distributor, and it says 8, which would be 68. Now remember, this is an early car. H would be August, and then 21 would be August 21st. So that would be date coded correct for the car.
Wow.
I haven't really taken a look at the distributor on the car that's in the car, so I'm not sure if that's actually correct.
Yeah, I mean, that came with the car, so I assume that someone had changed it for a reason. So there's the original distributor and alternator, I believe. I'm not knowledgeable enough to know all the numbers, obviously, like you do. I'm impressed it's got the original carburetor being a 69. I didn't even know that.
Yeah,
So
so
that's
it's a
pretty
good
impressive.
it's a good thing that we do have this with the car. Here's the alternator. Let's see if I can. Yeah, and see how it says 837 right there. That would be correct for this car as well. So that's a good sign. I see some other pieces in here also, the original shifter, the lights, some stuff that was replaced on the car that, you know, normally after 60 years.
I'm impressed that all the correct stuff is here after 60 years.
Well, what we're also going to do is take a look at the rear end and the transmission. Before we do that, though, I want to see if it has the proportion valve on the side over here. And so, no. Normally, there would be a piece here that looks like the state of Texas, and I'm not seeing the proportion valve on this side. However, that's not a make or break deal for this car, because we obviously can tell that the brakes have been messed with because the actual master cylinder is not correct. So not a huge deal, just a maintenance thing, and something that happened with a lot of cars that were restored in the late 90s, early 2000s.
At some point, someone must have changed the master cylinder.
Yeah. I'm just trying to basically put the story of the car together,
Yeah.
and it's making sense.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
Yeah, I'm sure the master cylinders don't last 57 years.
right. Yep.
And at some points, you know, you take it to a shop and they're not authentic on, you know, putting the original stamp parts back on. So.
Well, you know, 30 years ago, when this car was probably restored, I mean, the paint on it is actually really nice. It wasn't, you know, as valuable as they are today.
Right. They weren't collectible then. They were just another car.
Right. So what I'm going to try and do here, and another thing is, we're going to find out if this is a spoiler car or not when we open the trunk here, and I'll actually show you under here. This is an early car, so it would have the short spoiler on it, the leftovers from 1968. Now, you can see that there's probably about an inch gap on this side and an inch gap on that side, and that was put on there. It looks correct. Sometimes you find people that put spoilers on and they're like way to one side. You know what I mean? That kind of tells you how well the car is restored overall. If they took the time to put the spoiler on right, then they took the time to do everything else right on the car. Do you mind if we use that, Jack?
Oh, knock yourself out, whatever you need to use.
I'll hand you your phone back here, and we'll get this thing jacked up, and then if I could use that flashlight again. What I want to do is just make sure the rear end code is correct.
Yep.
Obviously, it has a 12 bolt under here. We don't need it. We're not going to put it on jack stands. We're just going to lift her up here. We're going to take a look at the engine, or not the engine code, the rear end tube. You can see where that says BU, and that would be a 373 posi rear end, which was an option. The posi was optional. They didn't come standard with posi for the Z28, but that would be the correct rear end for this car. And while we're here, we can take a look at the leaf springs. We see that there's actually 3, and they might have cut that last one off right there at the bottom. Either that, or when they were restoring it, they put not the original leaf springs back on this car. We also can take a look underneath here, and it does look pretty sanitary. So now that we've gotten that taken care of, I do want to just check the radiator. And yeah, it is a Harrison radiator. It says it right there. It's kind of hard to see, but there should be a tag, and I'm not seeing it on the front here, and that would say UH on it. And that's something that when people restore these cars back then, they kind of forget about. I'm not seeing it on here. Not make or break, but it would be better if that was there. What we're going to do now is check and see if this was a spoiler car. You can see it has the front spoiler on it here. If we take a look at the front subframe there, there's no little pinhole, which would be for the bracket for this front spoiler. So that way when it's going down the road, it doesn't fold up underneath itself. Do we have the keys for the car?
Keys are in the car.
Okay. What I'm going to do is open the trunk here. We got a car cover in here. So what we're going to do is take a look at the rods for the spoiler. We'll go over here because you can see both of them and see how they're the same size. So this car would most likely not have been a rear spoiler, front spoiler car. You couldn't get one or the other. They both came as a package. And we'll take the car cover out here. And I just kind of want to see what the trunk looks like. Now, you see that it does have splatter paint in here, and the splatter paint was different between the actual different manufacturing plants of these cars. They were built in Norwood, Ohio, or Van Nuys, California, and depending on where your car was built, this actual splatter paint would be different. If we come over here, we can see a little pinhole right there. And that would be for the reverse lights for the RS package. So you can see the reverse light right here. It's obviously been rewired, but those would be correct for that hole. Now we want to check and see if the quarter panels are original to this car. Now I could have had full quarters put on it. We wouldn't really know that 100% here. But I'm not seeing any issues with this side. I want to check this side over here. And so, yeah, this quarter panel has been replaced. You can see it on the camera right there. So without doing a complete deep dive, I can tell you that this side is possibly original, but this side of the quarter panel has had cheater quarters put on it right here. So it may have been hit on this side. I can't confirm that, but at one time that did happen. So we'll put you can see the posi sticker. Whoever restored this car, they did a pretty decent job. You know, it's missing some things here and there so far, but it actually is a very, very, very nice car. We have the rear bumpers. These were standard on the Z28s. We'll go ahead and put the car down. One thing we didn't talk about on the cow tag is it does have a 712 interior code, and that would be the deluxe interior. You can see the panel over here is the nice panel. You can see that it does have the comfort weave seats in it. And what I'm going to do is just go over there and see what we can take a look at in the driving compartment. One thing I noticed about this car when I opened the doors is they don't sag. A lot of 69 Camaro doors over time, they do tend to sag, and these cars don't have that issue. Driver and passenger are okay. Obviously, you can see the RS piece here has been replaced. We do have a crack right here on both sides, which is very common. There's the clock, and we also have 57,000 miles on it. The pedals look about 57,000 miles-ish. But one thing I'm looking at here is the red line tag. We see that the red line starts at 6,000, which would be correct for an early car. We also have the console here, which is pretty cool. And if we take a look at the top up here, we see that this vent, you see how the ridges in this vent are wavy? That's the way they were originally from the factory. And if this was a replacement piece, all of these vent holes would be flat. So that's how we know that that is original to the car. We also have a pretty decent headliner in here. Dome lights work here, dome lights work down here, which it just tells you how good the quality of the car was. A lot of people skip this stuff. You know, a lot of cars I get into, the dome light back here doesn't work. I want to show you that we do have a headliner issue right here. Not a big deal, but just something to take note of this car. A lot of times, actually, this car does not have an X code on the front of it, but there would have been an X code back here on the rear bulkhead, but it does not have that there because we do have pictures of the car where the back seat was removed and the metal on the inside of this car is not the original color that it should be. So that means that someone had painted and completely restored this car at one time. I just kind of want to elaborate on what I was talking about, the car being restored. So I'll show you here on camera that, do you see the padding back there behind the rear seat? Originally from the factory, that would be kind of like a cardboard pad and it wouldn't have kind of like that matting that's there. A lot of people, when they restore these cars, they take the splatter paint and they actually hide a lot of rust underneath there, and you can do that, but it doesn't look like this car has that much underneath here, which is good. It would pass if it was my car. I'd be happy with that. One thing I wanted to ask you, Tony, is you said you had the original hood to this car.
Yes, the original hood is right over here. It's all wrapped up. So the gentleman had the reproduction painted, and he had wrapped up the original hood for the car. So actually, when I picked the car up, I went and looked at it with my pickup, and I brought the hood and placed it here. It's been sitting here ever since.
Do you mind if we take a look at that so we can just show the people what I'm talking
No
about
problem.
as
You
far
guys
as the...
grab it, bring it out.
You think we can go out that way?
Open that door for you.
Watch behind you there, Jim. What we'll do is we'll set it on the ground right here.
To be honest with you, he had it wrapped up so good, I never opened it up and looked at it.
Oh, you never looked at it?
Nope, but I knew it was the original hood because obviously had that one painted so it matched the car.
I do that sometimes with cars. All right, so I don't really want to take it out, but I do want to stand it back up.
You can get a peek at it. It's a little dirty.
Yeah, it is a little dirty, but you can see.
A lot of years of dust.
You see how right here, there's no clear over anything. I can actually kind of barely feel a ridge right there. So this would be,
yeah, I feel it here,
an original, looks to be an original paint hood.
No, he's got the corners wrapped up, very well protected.
Yeah, you can see that is an original 69 Camaro hood. Not a cow hood, but an original
just a flat hood.
Yeah, just a
flat
hood. Just a flat hood, yep. So Jim, now that we've kind of looked at the car overall, we have a general idea of what we're actually looking at. Do you have any questions for me about the car or anything?
I don't really have any questions about anything. I'm just ecstatic for it to be an authentic numbers matching car.
Original drivetrain, yep.
Original drivetrain car, that's correct. And beautiful color. It's an original Hugger orange, exciting, very impressive. It's original carburetor number, and I'm just thrilled. And I want Tony to know that it's going to a good home. It's not going to be, it's going to maintain its originality, and be loved.
The gentleman that I bought it from, that was one of his main concerns, that it didn't go to somebody who was going to cut it up.
Not going to cut it up.
You know, one of the reasons he sold it to me was I had a Z10, and when he saw the Z10, he said, I know it's going to the right home. So I'm glad to pass it on to you.
Well, thank you so much. I'm very honored to have it.
Do you mind if we start it up? Can we hear it run? Because we haven't done that yet.
Let's do that.
Cool. Yep. Yeah, Jim. I mean, I think this is a pretty good car so far.
Nice.
How's it driving?
Good. Good.
Feels like it has a little bit of a wobble to it, a little bit.
A little bit of a wobble to it.
Okay.
Of course, in my imagination, we're in 1969, so we're not driving the 2024 cars.
Yeah, it might need an alignment, or it could be the tires. I'm not sure, but I definitely feel that. Headliner looks good in it. Like I said, I mean, everything, the carpet I think was probably replaced. It's had speakers put in the front here. That's pretty common. How's it shift, Jim?
Shift's good.
Shift's good?
Yeah.
Did you see that orange car that sold for $260 over the weekend?
I did see that. Unbelievable.
I think this car's a better car than that one.
Wow, amazing.
As far as the RS with it, you know what I mean? Because that car had a cow hood added to it as well, and that car also had the grill was wrong in it.
I saw that. It should have been a silver grill.
Right.
They had it painted black.
Well, the RS adds a little bit more money to it, so I think I think we do have something here. And there's not a lot of orange ones out there for sale right now with original drivetrains in them.
Well, this is exciting. I've been looking for it for about 2 years. I've been working on this.
I like when they restored it. They didn't add the mirror on this side. I know it makes it easier to drive, but
For sure.
you can see it has the driver's mirror over there, and the passenger side was optional on 69 Camaros.
It starts up right away like it's supposed to.
Yep. You got to put it
mean-
in reverse lockout.
I did. Cool.
Well, Jim, what do you think, buddy?
I'm thrilled.
Here, well, don't say that too loud. You haven't bought it yet. Tony.
Think you want to buy it?
I think I want to buy it.
Yeah, I think we can come to a deal.
Well, what we want to take a look at is the paperwork you have for it, Tony. Is that okay?
Yeah, I believe it's right here. So
This is my paperwork.
that's your.
Yep, that's my
Oh,
paperwork.
that's your paper. Okay, never mind then. Somewhere there's.
I brought it out.
You did?
Oh, right here. Jesus. All that chemo does shit my memory.
That's what I have heard.
So here's the appraisal done by Jerry McNeilish. It was done in 2002, so I know that's why you checked the numbers, because it was a long time ago, but the guy had the car certified. And he's got a couple comments. He even comments how it's a nice car to take to the next step, you know, if you want to do a full-blown restoration. And he just noted a couple of different things.
Well, now that we've kind of got everything figured out for this car, I wanted to ask you, Jim, do you have any questions for Tony?
I do. Tony, so you've had the car for about 3 years, and you said that the previous owner had had it for 20 plus.
Yeah, a gentleman that I bought it from had it for 26 years, and he had a collection of several of them, and that was the last car he sold. He was 76 years old, and he wanted to make sure the car went to a good home, and his main concern was he didn't want anybody to cut that car up. He had a couple that was pro-streeted, and you know, he knew how original that car was, and that was one of his main concerns. So I'm glad that it's going to a good home, and I think we have a deal.
Absolutely, it is going to a good home. I won't cut the car up. The car is for our family's enjoyment and to take to a show every now and then, have fun like that. But I appreciate you making a deal with me, and it's and I'm promising you that it's going to a good home too. It's a keeper car, and that's what we want. That's what we
Glad
want
it's
for it.
going to somebody who's going to take very good
Well, we're going to do that. Thank you so much.
you.
Again, appreciate you very much.
Yep, thank you.
You bet.
Well, Tony, something I wanted to ask you is, do you mind if we take a look at your other cars in the garage here?
No problem.
And I know you told me when we first got here, these
Yeah.
cars are not for sale, correct?
So, not for sale. This is a 69 RS SS convertible. It's got some rare options. It's got power top, power windows, deluxe interior. So what happened with this car is I bought this car in 1989. So it's been in the family, actually older than my kids are.
Okay.
It's been in the family since '89, so we're just going to keep that. And this is a 67 427 automatic. Anybody knows anything about Corvettes, it's kind of the holy grail.
Yeah.
I've had this car since 1992.
Original side pipe car, you think?
Yeah,
or-
original side pipe, original 427. It's got the matching number big block in it. The rare thing with this car is it's an automatic. Now,
Yeah.
these cars came with power glides, and they were terrible. It would shift at like 20, and then it would kind of lug. So there's a company out of California, Bowtie Transmissions. I bought a kit, it was a 700 R4. So it came with shifted detent plate, came with the tranny line, came with everything, and it was $2,500. I probably did that 15 years ago. Yeah. And it makes the car so much more drivable.
Modernized it a little
Right,
bit.
modernize it. So it's got the overdrive, so it's not a huge gas, still a gas pig, but not a huge gas pig. But so I've had this since '89, and that's since '92, and now probably these will never sell. My wife calls them garage art. We open the door and we look at them.
Absolutely.
But she's been hounding me to take this out and get it going.
Well, you couldn't ask for any better garage art. You know,
Yep.
you still have an orange Camaro and a blue Corvette. So I want to say thank you from myself and from
Thank you very much.
us here at the channel,
I
and
appreciate it.
opening your home to us to just kind of making this whole thing happen. I want to say thank you.
Yeah, it was my pleasure.
If you guys found value in this video, please give us a like or a subscribe to the channel. Again, my name is Parker with Backyard Barn Finds, and have a great day.